and I've got some other bits coming. But this turned up. I ordered this one. You have to excuse me because I can't, the camera screen is a bit slow, but so I don't know whether this is in focus or in shot. This little homebrew book, The Homebrewer's Guide to Vintage Beer. Some of you may or may not have heard of it. I have a little interest in some of the older style beers. It hasn't got what I would have liked, but nevertheless there's some oldie beers there, you know, the good old ones, but we're going back 1800s. But the nice thing about this book is done by Ron Patterson. He's an English guy, but he lives over in Amsterdam, where they like to smoke. But he's quite big on his roots from London and a certain brewery called Barclay Perkins. Now the only connection I have with Perkins is the place in Peterborough that makes diesel engines. But anyway, he's got a blog you may well have heard of called Shut Up About Barclay Perkins, because that's normally what his kids say, because he's always on about beers. So in the end he's decided to write a little book on some of the old beers that our younger selves might have remembered, or our parents or grandparents. So he's done this little book in cooperation with some of the brewers like Fuller's, and sort of tried to recreate original recipes. Obviously the malts and such like have changed, and he covers it in the book, but you can get the idea. It's in the little ring binder, so it's obviously easy to use on brew day. Everything lays out flat, and the recipes are like that, quite simple. So we've got the 1848 Barclay Perkins IBST, which is an Imperial Brown Stout. An old Russian Imperial Stout, first brewed for Catherine the Great, revived by Wells and Young in 2012. So we already know by that last statement that if we make a homebrew version, it will be 10 times better than any shit that Wells and Young's make. Full of alcohol, hops, not to survive the journey, but because the Russian court liked it that way. But it's nice and simple. Pale malt, 2 row, which everything in England is. £15 for the Americans, or 6.8 kilos. Brown malt, £6, 2.7 kilos, blah blah blah. So we go down the grain bill: amber malt, black malt, Goldings hops, 90 minutes, 213 grams, 60-minute edition of Goldings, 198 grams, 30-minute edition, 198 grams. I haven't gone through the whole book, so I don't know what all the volumes are based on. There is mash schedules down the bottom and recommended yeasts. There's loads of recipes in the back. Pales, India exports, brown stouts, porters, the origins behind porters and stouts, and the types of malt that were used in days gone by, and some bits about hops that I didn't know. There's a little bit about the basics of brewing. But from the 1840s onwards, American hops began to appear in British brewing records. Initially they came mostly from New York State, which was the main hop growing region for early 19th century. The variety grown was primarily cluster. In the later 19th century, problems with disease and pests drove the hop industry west to Washington, Oregon and California, where it remains today. Again, the favourite variety was cluster. After the 1860s, the truly enormous quantities of American hops were imported to Britain. British brewers weren't enthusiastic about the flavour of American hops and reserved them for early bittering editions. Their high alpha acid content meant they could still be used after many years of storage, commonly up to 5 years, and rarely as long as 10 years. Well, who would have funked it? Canadian hops, usually from British Columbia, were also sometimes used. Well, of course, that'd be from British Columbia. We want a fucking French one, do it? Yeah, so that's quite an interesting little read. Can't remember how much it is now, about 6-7 quid. Ironically, it's a British author who lives in Amsterdam. The book's printed in China. I bought it from Amazon.co.uk. Where was it shipped from? Canada. The cheapest place to buy it on Amazon.co.uk is Canada. But anyway, if you want to have a little dabble on the book, it's not too dear. 6 quid, something like that. 7 quid. So it gives you a little insight. I don't know whether it's this beer or whether it's just this teeth I'm breaking in for the dog. So yeah, the little book I trapped myself to as well. I've finally made a move out here and move some stuff that's been sitting in the house far too long. Which, as you know, I've got the big fermentation fridge there with the conical fermenter in it, which currently is not in use because the cooling side of it is fan assisted. And the reason I got it was because this fan doesn't work properly. I've plugged it in and it does work, but I think over time obviously the motor heats up and it goes into phase, and obviously either doesn't spin fast enough or stops spinning, which was the problem with it. But I managed to source on eBay when I bought some stuff and had an offer of 10% off or something if I bought stuff on PayPal, and I bought this and a couple of other things. So the discount worked out that this £20 fan I got for 15 quid or whatever else I got, something like, you know. Anyway, I got a discount, so it's either 15 quid instead of 20 quid or something else that I bought. 5 was free. Horses for courses. Anyway, I've just changed the polarisation of the motor because it was sitting that way at like that, which wouldn't have been no good for when I put the cowling back over the fan. So I've just changed the position. All it is a little rubber grommet with a bearing in it. Take that out, that goes floppy, you know, like when you need Viagra. And you pull that round and just relocate it in. It's got the same little punch outs. So I just changed the polarisation of the motor. So it's like that compared to the old knackered one. All I've got to do now is remove that metal bracket thing there, which is on rivets there, which conveniently look exactly the same as them ones there. So all I've got to do is drill that out, re-rivet that. The electric terminations are slightly different. This one's just got live and neutral, and that one's live, neutral and earth, you know, earth's for safety. Fuck safety. So all I've got to do is change the fittings, put that in, and source another heater that's big enough for that big old bloody fridge. And we have fermentation chamber number 2. I have a second box and another STC 1000 to make another controller up. So hopefully, I've got storage as well. I'm running on, so I'll go into the storage thing next week, because that's another story on its own as well. But yeah, storage of grain, your little bags and bits and pieces, which by the time I wrote everything down, I'd totaled 60 kilos of bags of grain, the brewing kit that I was going to use at Christmas that I never got to do. I've now got to sort out cars as well, so that's pushed back any brewing schedules. Plus I've still got a bottle of the other one. Anyway, I'm making excuses to waffle. So if I remember all the shit, I'll update you with the continuation next week, if you're still hanging in there. see you next week.